Unfortunately, my younger boss, Mike, treated me with disrespect, calling me a freeloader despite my stepping back from the demanding work. To my astonishment, he abruptly fired me, laughing dismissively. Even more shockingly, he tried to blame me for resigning to cover his mistake, threatening to pin the blame on me. With no desire to fight back, I left the company. When I shared the news with my beloved wife, Sarah, I was surprised by her positive response. She reminded me of my original dreams and reassured me. I'm James, a 45-year-old professional with 2 decades of experience. My college sweetheart and I have been devoted partners for years. Although we haven't had children, our life together is deeply fulfilling. After graduating, Sarah landed a position at a prestigious company. However, she chose to resign and become a dedicated homemaker after we married. She was not only stunningly beautiful but also excelled academically, consistently ranking at the top in her evaluations. While I felt it was a loss for her to leave the workforce, Sarah seemed completely content with her decision. She dismissed my worries with a cheerful attitude, saying, "I don't have grand ambitions, so I'm thrilled to support you fully. But someone as talented as you shouldn't be confined at home." I protested, "That's not true at all." She reassured me, "There are plenty of capable people who can take over my old job. It was never uniquely mine." I was happy to have Sarah back home, though I worried she might get bored. However, my concerns were unfounded as Sarah remained cheerful and content. "I've made my choice," she said with a smile. "Isn't this what you wanted? I'm happy to be here with you and look forward to preparing delicious meals for the next 20 years. Sarah has consistently kept our home immaculate and delights us with delicious meals at every meal, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. As for me, benefiting from Sarah's unwavering support, I'm a game creator. My love for games began in childhood, where I would immerse myself in them daily, often sacrificing sleep. This passion eventually drove me to try my hand at game development, leading me to my current career. After graduating from college, I joined a major game production company. Around the time of our marriage, I finally got the green light for a project I had been proposing, and I was deeply involved in leading it. Back then, all-nighters were routine, and my life revolved around brief trips home to shower and change. Sarah's steadfast support led me to a turning point in my life. A few years into our marriage, a college friend approached me with a surprising idea to start a mobile game development company together. This friend, who had joined a rival firm after graduation, often shared industry insights with me over casual drinks. The idea of starting our own business emerged unexpectedly during one of these conversations. "Hey James, what do you think about launching a game studio with me? It's something I never really considered before. Your games are really popular, but all the profits go to the company, right? Doesn't that frustrate you?" Honestly, I'm just happy to create games I'm passionate about. I've never thought about starting my own business. I was taken aback, struggling to find a response. The idea of venturing into entrepreneurship had never even crossed my mind. "You're too modest. You have the talent. Don't you ever think about using it to pursue your own vision, earn more, and make Sarah even happier?" my friend urged. "I don't think I have exceptional abilities," I confessed. "But what about the recent success of the game you led? That wasn't just luck," he pointed out. "I wasn't solely responsible for that success," I clarified. "Stop downplaying your achievements, and think about the limitations of being a salaried employee. Don't you long for more creative freedom in game development?" His words hit home, revealing the constraints I faced in my role, which stifled my full potential. "More freedom does sound appealing," I admitted. "Are you considering it? Do you think it's actually feasible?" "It's not a question of whether it's possible. We'll make it happen," he said confidently. So, we spent the night crafting our business plan over drinks, discussing our vision well into the early hours. A year later, we each invested $20,000 as startup capital and launched our own small company. We set up shop in a rundown apartment, with my friend handling sales planning, character design, and backgrounds, while I focused on scenario writing and programming. Over the year leading up to our resignations, we diligently developed mobile game apps and began distributing them within 3 months of our launch. In the 15 years since, our game development company has grown into a major industry player. We now employ over 500 skilled individuals and have released numerous hit products. About 5 years ago, I decided to step back from the intense day-to-day game design work to focus on achieving a better work-life balance. Although I no longer lead major projects, I now serve as an advisor to our younger team members and indulge in creative writing as the mood strikes. I make it a point to arrive early and take advantage of the flexible schedule, allowing me to leave by 5 p.m. This is my new routine. Unfortunately, a colleague named Mike, who had quickly risen to a managerial position in just 8 years, frequently criticized my work ethic. Mike had initially impressed me with his ambition, but his aggressive behavior had become increasingly counterproductive, often targeting me. Today, while I was reviewing some documents alone, Mike approached from behind and said, "You seem to have plenty of free time. Are you sure you're actually working?" I was simply examining some intriguing material when Mike interjected, "Material? You're not handling any significant tasks, yet you act like you're so important. Clearly, you're not doing anything. You're just a freeloader." His blunt insults left me stunned. He continued, "Why don't you just retire? It's frustrating for everyone to see you getting paid without contributing." "But I do handle necessary responsibilities," I tried to explain. "Spare me the excuses," Mike snapped. "It's infuriating to see someone like you getting away with this." Mike's relentless criticism had become a significant source of stress for me. Our meetings were marred by his harsh judgments, and I struggled to find a way to address the situation. The verbal abuse only seemed to escalate. Then, one day, a particular incident occurred. Mike stormed into the room, his tone filled with anger. He accused me of injuring our major sponsors by unilaterally rejecting their product placement proposals without consulting anyone and proceeding with production on my own. Confused, I attempted to clarify the situation. I explained that I wasn't even responsible for any game production work related to the sponsors. However, Mike's loud outbursts in front of our colleagues left me feeling anxious and on edge. His eyes gleamed with a twisted amusement as he stared directly at me. "I've tolerated your neglect of duties, but I can't let you continue costing the company. You're dismissed." "Dismissed? Yes, the board has already been informed," he said with a mocking laugh. "Just pack up your things and leave." "This can't be happening," I thought as Mike leaned in and whispered, making sure no one else could hear. "Our company doesn't need you anymore." Haha. Now I can pin the blame on you, just a lowly employee. Haha. It was clear that Mike was forcing me to resign by shifting the blame for his mistake onto me, and he had meticulously involved the board members to cover his tracks. "So this is how it ends," Mike sneered, his words dripping with contempt. After his reprimand, I silently packed up my belongings and left the company. Although I was furious, I felt an unexpected sense of calm. Mike had threatened my job, but I knew that dismissing someone wasn't that straightforward. Still, the thought of continuing to work under Mike was unbearable, and I decided that leaving the company was the best option. After starting my own venture, I became so consumed by my passion that I neglected other aspects of my life. Unfortunately, this led to my dismissal by a junior supervisor, a situation I feared would upset or disinterest my spouse. When I arrived home at an unusually early hour, my partner greeted me with surprise. "Welcome back. What's happened? You're home early." "Yes, well," I began, recounting the details of my termination. My spouse listened intently and, to my surprise, responded with a warm and understanding smile, rather than the frustration I had anticipated. "I'm glad you've decided to leave the company. There's somewhere I'd like us to go together." "Together? Where to?" I asked. My wife didn't answer but stood up with a smile, urging me to follow her. She led me to a bustling downtown area close to our home. As we walked down Main Street, lined with office buildings and fashion malls, people occasionally approached my wife, shaking hands and expressing admiration. "Are you Sarah? I'm a fan of yours. It's so great to meet you." "Thank you. I came to this restaurant today because I saw it on your blog." "Really? That makes me so happy." I was utterly bewildered, staring at my wife, who seemed to have become a local celebrity after the crowd dispersed. Sarah turned back to me, looking surprised. "Yeah, a bit. What's going on, Sarah? Are you a celebrity?" "When you were so focused on your work and chasing your dreams, it inspired me to do something too." "Is that so?" "Yes, I started a blog," Sarah said with a slight blush. "A blog?" I couldn't hide my surprise at her unexpected revelation. "Yes, I began sharing posts about beauty, great restaurants, fashion, and other things I enjoy. It gained a lot of attention, and now I'm somewhat of an influencer." Sarah's modest revelation was surprising. Although she had always been beautiful and popular in college, I had no idea she had become so well known through her blog that people would recognize her on the street. She explained that her blog has a large readership and generates substantial advertising revenue. Do you resent me for keeping this a secret and pursuing it on my own? She asked. Of course not. I'm really proud of you for achieving so much and thriving, I responded. Thank you. It's all thanks to you, James. You gave me the chance to pursue this, and now that you've left your job, I was hoping you'd support me in return. Her words reminded me of the early days of my company, 20 years ago, when I was completely absorbed in game development. 15 years ago, I made the significant decision to start a business with a friend, driven by my passion for creating games. That passion led to a sense of accomplishment as our company grew, and we developed the games we had always wanted. However, Sarah's words made me realize that my drive wasn't just about game creation but about growing the company as one of its founders. With many talented young employees now in place, the work had become more routine and less innovative, diminishing my interest. Concerned about the company's direction, I reached out to my friend. He shared my view that the mobile game industry was becoming saturated and emphasized the need for more innovative content to secure the company's future. We decided to hold a shareholders' meeting. On the day of the meeting, I donned a suit for the first time in a while and headed to the conference room of the company I had left. Among the familiar faces was Mike, who had apparently bought shares and was attending the meeting. I tried to slip in unnoticed, but Mike quickly spotted me and approached with a sneering smile. Hey, James, feeling lonely after getting fired? Mike said with a smirk. Mike, I replied, trying to keep things light with a joke. However, my attempt at humor only seemed to aggravate him further. What are you doing here? A fired employee like you has no place at this meeting. It's embarrassing and pathetic for you to hang around. Mike, still lingering with a sneer, said, No need to worry about me, and then snapped, Shut up and get out. Don't make me tell you again. Leave now. Despite Mike's persistent harassment, I calmly waited for the shareholders' meeting to begin. When the meeting started, my friend, the president, took the stage as the chairperson and declared the session open. The meeting progressed, and it was time for the Q&A with the shareholders. I raised my hand, but Mike, who had followed me to the next seat and continued pestering me, tried to intervene. Seriously, raising your hand is so pathetic. Just stay quiet. You're disrupting the meeting, Mike mocked. Ignoring Mike's taunts, I focused on the host. When my name was called, I stood up. Mr. James, thank you for joining us today. Please go ahead with your question, the host said. My question is this. It seems there are no new business ventures on the horizon, and I'm concerned that without them, the rising personnel costs and other expenses will lead to decreased profits. What measures are being taken to address this? I asked. The host turned to the board member for a response. Seeing me, the board member began to sweat and tremble as he answered, Mr. James, you've raised a valid point. There are indeed several challenges concerning our future business plans. Are there measures in place, and do we have the necessary personnel adjustments? I pressed. We are all considering that, the board member began. It'll be too late to just consider it. I've made every suggestion for the company's growth, I continued, while Mike stared blankly. We need new projects, a sales department, and flexible staff reallocation according to each employee's strengths, I concluded. Understood, the board member responded. Suddenly, Mike loudly interrupted. Why is the director even listening to this guy? This is embarrassing. The management team on stage froze, and one director exclaimed, Who are you to speak to Mr. James like that? I'm Mike. I work here and am a shareholder. We should kick this guy out immediately, Mike retorted. Mike, do you not know who Mr. James is? The director asked. Of course, he's the underperforming employee I fired, Mike replied with a smirk. Don't joke around. Mr. James is the founder of our company and holds over 50% of the shares. One word from him, and your job is gone in an instant, the director snapped. Mike's face went pale and he began to tremble. That's a joke, right? He was just a useless employee, Mike stammered. My friend, the president, who had been watching silently, spoke up with anger but calm authority. James is my friend. We both contributed equally when we founded this company. How dare you speak of him like that? Faced with the president's glare, Mike began to shrink and stammer. I didn't know. I mean, he always seemed to be doing easy jobs and leaving on time. I had no idea he was a founder. I'm so sorry. The company exists today because of James' initial work. You fired him? "This is ridiculous. Apologize now," the president demanded. "You're fired. Leave the conference room and the company immediately," the president declared. "This is unfair," Mike pleaded, but his protests were ignored. Security escorted Mike out as he broke down in tears. His disrespectful behavior, masked by his ambition, had caused friction and hindered operations. The company had been considering action, and his exposure led to immediate termination. With Mike gone, employees who had been intimidated began working more freely, improving the workplace environment. The president and board members, unaware of Mike's attempt to fire me, apologized for the misunderstanding and asked me to return. I explained my departure was due to personal feelings at the time and expressed my interest in working in human resources rather than game development. I've since focused on recruitment, believing that a company thrives by placing the right people in the right roles. This shift has reduced workplace conflicts and allowed me to contribute to the company's growth in a meaningful way. Although occasionally asked to assist with game development, I decline, preferring to concentrate on recruitment. My goal is to help the company provide new value and continue growing by valuing people above all else.